Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, where we believe that everyone has the potential to be a giant in their own world. Hang tight, because in this episode, you're going to discover how to turn trials into triumphs. It would be weird if we turned triumphs into trials.
Yeah,
Maybe. Either way, we're gonna go through it today.
which
Hang
one's
tight.
harder?
Yeah, right. Hang tight, because we're gonna wake up the inner giant. Ah. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris. I am the co host of Wake Up with Giants TV and the co creator of A Tribe of Giants. It's a great place to be on Facebook. You can join us on YouTube as well. Hit the alert button and subscribe so you know when we go live every single dang time. And I'm here with my co host, who is the author of The Giants and the Smalls, Mr. Nicholas T. Smith. He's amazing. We are right now, we're in the midst of what we call our Sum Gigante groups. This is where we dive deep for 8 weeks and teach our 12 journeys. And thanks everybody for reminding me too. It is Father's Day.
It is
We should
Father's
probably,
Day.
thank all the fathers and say hello. Sometimes I just get in my own rhythm and pattern and got to do that. So anyway, where we dive deep into our 12 journeys is that SG program, is what we call it. And we are taking applications for SG 11 that will be in July. So if you didn't make SG 10 and you were ready, but you missed the cutoff, um, you can do that. You can find all the information on our website.
Should we say tryouts? Tryouts are
Yeah, if you
coming
missed
up
if you missed the cutoff
instead
for
of
tryouts,
applications. Yeah.
we're going to do tryouts.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's no physical work involved other than maybe clicking a mouse or two and
Yeah.
punching in some keys. But um, we also do what we call IBRs. They're integrative book readings, and we sit with your family, friends on a Zoom, and we chat. We go through the book briefly. Well, we, as in Nick, has been doing it lately, and he does an amazing job of taking you through the book and helping you understand those 12 journeys. It's about an hour and a half book reading, and they are powerful. Nick, do you have anything to say about those two?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
we're gonna blow your mind wide open and your inner world. So whatever's been holding you back, our goal is to expose that, express that, and get you moving. So we want to bring the inner giant out. So
And we do.
and we do,
It's
yeah.
awesome. Oh, I'm so excited. And you can go to our website, giantsandsmalls.com, to find all that information. But uh, I'm so excited. I don't want to take any more time away because this guest I've been looking forward to for well, since we booked him, but I learned about him back in December, took took a test, and he'll talk about that, and learned a ton about myself. And then just this last week, dove deeper into it, and it was kind of serendipitous that he was on this week that I dove into it. So without further ado, Nick, will you introduce our guest?
I'd love to. Or as Mike Tyson says, serendipitous.
Serendipitous.
So Eddie Villa, we've got Eddie Villa here with us, and he is a man whose life is a testament to resilience, entrepreneurial spirit, and the power of self-discovery. So Eddie's not just a devoted father to 7 children, but also a dynamic entrepreneur who has been successfully managing home-based businesses since 2013. So his real passion, however, lies in guiding individuals to unearth and harness their unique strengths. Eddie's own journey, marked by overcoming significant challenges, including losing 2 jobs in 2 months, serves as an inspiring backdrop for his best-selling books, Unleash Your Strengths and Unleashed, Fired Twice, Freedom Forever. So these books provide a roadmap for those seeking personal improvement and self-realization. Along with his book writing endeavors, Eddie also helms a thriving online community, testament to his commitment to helping others explore their unique talents. And despite his busy schedule, he's currently penning his next book, reaffirming that each day offers fresh opportunities to learn, grow, and impart knowledge. And to start your journey towards embracing your uniqueness, visit his website at getmystrengths.com, which I think we have running on the bottom of the screen. So, Eddie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is an honor. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, we're excited to hear your journey. So when we share these podcasts, what we're striving to do is have other people see themselves in you, in what you do. So it's not necessarily to get them to change, but maybe inspire them through your story. And we
Yeah.
like to go back in time where you had that challenging event, and maybe that was your awakening moment. We call that an awakening moment, where you thought life was a certain way, you thought you were a certain way within life, and then there was something that shifted all of that. Do you have something in mind?
Yeah. This was when I wrote my second book. I actually hired a book coach because there was something very personal I wanted to write. The book Unleashed, Fire Twice, Freedom Forever. And he asked me that same question. If you could narrow down your journey to a moment, what would it be? And it wasn't the getting fired twice. It was the thing that led to getting fired twice.
Okay.
And I can actually explain this pretty simple. The first job that I was let go of, I was there for about 7 years, and I was promoted 5 times. I was really good at what I did. But there was a moment where, and by the way, just so you know what it was, I was managing a large apartment community for one of the biggest real estate companies in the country, in California. And my office, as I lived on the property, right? So my office was just really close to where we lived. And I would walk past this little green patch of grass every day, from my office to my home and then back to my office. And I had this one particular long day. I was there from about 7 a.m. till about 8 p.m. at work. And as I'm walking home, I noticed the grass again. I went home, grabbed a few minutes with my kids, an extra few minutes with my wife, went right back to sleep, woke up, showered to do the whole thing again. And as I'm walking back to work, I feel like I had just been in that patch of grass. And I had this moment where I'm looking at this patch of grass going, there's something here. There was something about this patch of grass that meant something to me. And I discovered that in between my office, where I had all these responsibilities, right? And then my home, where I had all these responsibilities, every time I was at work, I was thinking about being at home. Every time I was at home, I was thinking about being at work. It became this weird thing for me. But the patch of grass that was in between these two places was the only place that I didn't have that. I didn't feel called to be at work, and I didn't feel called to be at home. I just, like, this was where I was supposed to be. But I had this fear of being in this area. Like, if I just sat here, I felt like my employees that would see me, sitting there, like, why is my boss sitting there on the grass not doing anything? And then my kids would see me. Why is daddy sitting there on the grass instead of playing with me? Like this patch of grass became this, like, there's something here that I'm supposed to do. And it's about, like, what I really want. And
like
that,
like Switzerland, right? A little bit.
sure,
Neutral
sure.
ground.
And, it kind of represented what I loved about both, like,
Yeah.
having a personal calling, but also being a great father. And I felt like I couldn't do either of those in both places.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started this, like, where I started getting in my head about everything. And when you're in your head about what you're doing, you kind of start to do it poorly. So I went from getting promoted all the time to started, like, having some major problems at work and of course at home. And I started getting written up, and it was inevitable for me to eventually get fired. And we moved to a whole new state, in Utah from California. And I had the same issue up here. So within 30 days, I was let go there as well.
Wow.
So
I think of
that patch of grass was it.
Well, I think of the dynamic that's going on here. Lisa Feldman Barrett, we talk about her a lot. In her research on emotions, she says that we feel depressed when we feel like we're not measuring up to our own ideals. We feel anxious when we feel like we're not measuring up to the ideals of others. And here you are in Switzerland, so to speak, on this plot of grass, having those ideals, right? On both sides of the fence. I have ideals for work. I have ideals that I prefer with my family, and you're not measuring up to either.
Right.
You feel like I'm letting them down over here. I'm letting them down over there. And it puts you into this state of, discomfort, right? Dissonance. You
Yeah.
know that there's something more. And so that would cause you to kind of show up differently, right? Less
Almost
powerful.
instantaneously.
Yeah.
Instantaneously.
Yeah.
The minute my brain changed about what I was doing, I became a different person.
Huh. Yeah, no more driving in that area. You didn't get fired from your family, apparently, though, right?
No, thank
Yeah,
goodness, no.
thank
They
goodness.
didn't, but I sure felt like I deserved to,
Yeah, yeah.
after letting him down like that
Okay,
twice.
so I wanna talk about that deservingness a little bit. So that's been on my mind since you brought up the word. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But that deservingness, like what did you think you deserved in that moment?
Well, I felt like, I remember looking back on this, I felt like a big failure. Obviously, I felt like
Yeah,
the my family, all of a sudden, my kids. I had, at the time, we had five. I felt like my family was having to change their whole life because their dad couldn't hack it, if you will.
yeah,
Because we had to literally uproot them. All their friends, all the things that we've been doing, the community we gotten used to is like, hey, guess what? We're now going to move to a whole different world called Utah, and you
I
have
know
to
I know
change.
that place.
yeah.
Yeah, you
I
have
don't
to
think you're
change.
mincing. Yeah, you're not mincing words there. It is a different world.
Yeah, it is from
Yeah.
California. Yes, I was in Orange County, California.
Yeah.
So I that was the thing, as I felt like they now had, their life had to change because their dad had a problem.
Mm,
And I remember, I actually have the picture, and I'm sorry I didn't even think to bring it, but I have a picture that I took with my daughter Sutton, who was 1 year old at that time. We were at the park just down the street from where I was working, and we went out as a family. This was my first day after getting fired, and my wife took a picture, and I'm smiling, and I'm looking at that picture. I'm like, this dude is not happy. And
mm.
and I like, it's one of those smiles. I look at it like, that looks like a weird, creepy person who's trying to just keep it together,
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
moment to take a picture. I remember that very vividly, and that's painful.
yeah.
That's what I mean by deserve. I felt like I should be punished, and guess who punished me? It was me, and all in
Right.
here, it got worse.
Well, let's dive a little deeper on that because this
Sure.
is this is where the real work happens is in that inner world, that inner odyssey, right?
Yeah,
Where you go in and you really explore what's going on in me that's creating this, because it is here. And so there may be some external influences, but you're the one that interprets those and
yeah,
makes meaning from them. And so in our journeys, we go from the journey of non-consciousness to the journey of awareness. And most people, when they wake up to what they're doing, do it from a very judgmental space. They decide their worthiness, like you just did, right?
yeah,
Their deservingness. They are very critical, comparative. They seek perfection. They put their control of identity and creation outside of them. And so, did you do that? I mean, are you
oh
a
yeah,
human being? Yeah.
absolutely. The way I talk about it now, because you know how, after, with a little bit of time and a little bit of distance, you get proper perspective.
Yep.
Looking back on it now, this moment became part of my own training on helping other people.
Yeah.
I developed a story, or a leash, as I call it. And the story was, and I didn't even understand until recently, that I can't provide for my family. I can't
Mm,
create a wonderful life for my children because I just got fired. And that means I am no longer valuable.
right.
Like, that was the subconscious story that I told, that I held on to. And you could have told me, Eddie, you were great. You got this, you got that. And I would have
Wouldn't
fought you
matter.
tooth and nail and say, no, I don't. No, I don't. I've messed this up, and I'm the problem.
Yeah. And I can relate to that. Those feelings that come from that self-judgment
Mhm.
generates some really heavy emotions, right?
Yeah.
There's research that shows that your thoughts will always generate your emotions will generate your activity, and then that creates your world,
Yeah.
whatever way you want to see it.
Results.
And
Yeah.
so with the amount of thoughts that we have, and I want to get to what you do now because it's amazing where you've come, what's come from you actually
Yeah.
since this experience, because we often look at these events and these experiences like as impact points in our lives, and some of us define our lives by those impact points, but you took that and used it as a learning and growth opportunity. But I want to go back to the emotional side of this is that when we have these judgments of ourselves, heavy emotions are going to come up. We talk about the journey of grief, which is depression, anxiety, grief, sadness, right? All of these heavier emotions. We don't
Yeah.
want to let ourselves feel those. So we numb out to them.
Yes.
Try and get
Yeah.
busy.
Disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah. What came up there? Your face lit up like there
Oh
was
yeah.
something there.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting here having a visual. Eckhart Tolle, one of my favorite books, Eckhart Tolle, in one of
Yeah.
his books, I'm forgetting the name, we talked about where he discovered that he is actually two people. because if you
Yeah.
say, when you say things like, I hate myself, or I'm mad at myself, or I love me, or whatever, you realize you're two, and you need both to run the ship, to be connected. And
Yeah.
so in that moment, the physical, the outside was there, but the internal was like pulling back, like almost allowing the physical to just be on automatic,
Yeah.
but ultimately be disconnected because the pain and the weight of it all was too much to bear. So there's like an internal backing off of everything. And it
Yeah.
doesn't make for a great father of this many children.
We laugh about it now, but I
I
can
have to,
relate to
yeah,
this
now.
on so many levels.
Yeah.
When we talk about the giants and the smalls, it's kind of showing through there, but the internal world, the journey, the smalls, the village of the smalls. So this has nothing to do with other people. It's what's going on inside of us. And how awesome that Eckhart Tolle only has two, right? Most of us have like a whole village of smalls going on within us. And we
Sure.
have one giant, and the giant gets tethered down by the smalls, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like I love your view of the leash, because Michael Singer talks about that as well, as we're tethered. So untethering ourselves,
Yeah.
unleashing ourselves. We hear that word again and again, but we don't make that connection. It's us doing it to us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a prison that we have the key to.
Right. And those heavier emotions, we think we are those, and those are the result of who we think we are, and the thoughts that we latch onto or we leash onto. And so really noticing where we are and what judgments are coming up. I'm not sure who said it. I've got to remember this the next time I see it, but somebody said that the first step in change is awareness.
Yeah.
The second step is acceptance. And and so when you get into the emotions of your awareness, sometimes you won't accept it. You get into denial and you get into fighting what is. And so it really takes you out of even being present. You're more in your inner world battling whatever's going on in there. Did that happen for you?
Oh, yeah. And what's coming up for me is the examples of men in my life growing
Hmm.
up who were not what you would describe as vulnerable. These were hard men who died very young due
Yeah.
to coronary disease, and these kind of things, that where when you don't know how to express your emotions, or even
Yeah.
be willing to allow yourself to have them. And so the way I translated this is what a man does, right? A man doesn't have emotions. A man doesn't isn't limited by fear. A man just does the work, where and so on. And so
Yeah.
for me to experience this, what I would only call as a waterfall of emotions and fear and doubt, and my head just constantly going, this is wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I not only did I feel those pain, but I also believed that I shouldn't have that. And so by saying, "Oh, I'm stressed," so I'm feeling rejection, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling frustration, and then I'm feeling more rejection and anger, frustration because I'm feeling it. And it's like,
Right. Right.
you had made a joke about this. It's literally like turning trials into more trials.
Yeah.
I'm an expert. I am a magician at turning trials into more
Yeah.
trials.
Yeah.
And this is a great example
An
of, you're
alchemist, right? Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I have a PhD in that.
Yeah.
The actual certificate is hanging on the wall, and the
Oh, yeah.
evidence is there to show it.
Oh, yeah.
It's Edith Eger talks about expression. She was a concentration camp survivor, and she talks about expression being the opposite of depression. And as men, there is this pressure to not express.
Yeah.
I post really vulnerably on my wall, and the reason I do that is, for me, it diffuses what's going on within me. So it expresses it. It just
Yeah.
turns it into particles in the
Get it
air.
out.
And some people read that and they're really uncomfortable with my sharing. And our society as a whole tends to do that, is don't overshare. I've had relatives come up and say, why do you do this? This is so uncomfortable. It's painful for them. My sharing is painful for them. But I'm not sharing so that I can get their regard. What I'm doing is I'm diffusing what's going on within me so that I can get it out of here and into the light where I can really look at it. Right.
Yeah. This is the exposing of it. I mean, all
Yeah.
darkness goes away when you shed light on it.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. So we get to let go of our romantic attachment to our anger and frustration, and let the light just burn it out by getting it out.
Yeah.
So phrasing it into terms like, I can't do this because I'm not that. And that means I'll always, these are fabulous ways to bring them out into the light.
Yeah, anytime you say always, everybody, every time, that's an opportunity to really look at, well, what's going on within you that's having you say that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that. It's always like, right? Always,
Yeah,
always. It's
yeah.
always
We
everyone,
always
you
do
know,
that.
or no one. No
I
one
never do
wants to
that.
support me. No one wants to help me.
Yeah,
Everyone doesn't like me. Everyone hates me. Everyone's against me. We'll
yeah,
say things like the world is awful or whatever.
Like
yeah,
absolutes.
yeah,
Absolutes, constantly. Yeah.
yeah, constantly.
Yeah. That's how we catch it. Like, oh my gosh, I just said it. Oh,
Yeah,
everyone, always, constantly, right?
yeah,
Now the rest of our interview is silence because
right.
that's all we have been
We're
saying.
like tiptoeing around our own words. We're walking on eggshells with ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, the beauty of this is that this is where the work is, because people are out there looking for the fun stuff. They're looking for, oh, if I could take this skill course that Eddie Villa has, then that's going to change my life.
Yeah.
If I could take this program over here, I spent over 100 grand getting a degree, going to coaches, mentors, every training program you can imagine, buying every book you can imagine to try and get the next skill. Well, the good news is that started seeping out of me, but none of that changed who I was, because I could take the best books in the world and put them into this body and I would do a terrible job with them the way I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It
I get it.
wasn't about those. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is actually something that I've deal with myself because I coach, I train, I give people
Yeah.
step by steps and so on. But the reality is the secret, behind all that is the truth is I don't want you to actually do everything exactly the way I'm telling you how to do it. I want you to just get started and discover your own path.
Yeah.
This is the reality that we all have to embrace is no one can tell you what to do, and if you do it, you'll get this specific success. We can only get you started and keep you there with accountability and support, but we
Yeah.
all get to discover our own path, and that's what I want to help people do.
Yeah.
I don't want them to do it my way.
How did you start to wake up to what was good in your world, the positive? What was it
um
that really shifted you to start seeing that?
So it was the strengths assessment.
Okay.
I'm a pretty, I do my best to try to look at the good of all things, but
Yeah.
sometimes you start to feel like maybe you're in your own little make believe world,
Yeah.
when you have dreams and visions that don't currently exist. So when I got the strengths assessment, the beauty of this is it's this third party tool that's not a positive person trying to tell me I'm great. And it's not me making up things in my head to convince myself that I'm great. It's
Right.
a it's a tool that couldn't care about me one way or the other. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh well, here's your strengths. And I had to like look at that tool and ask myself, is that true? Is that really me? And the more and more I would read it, the more my body would have this like tuning fork going, hey dude, you're tapping into truth here. And you
Yeah.
can't argue with it. Like I looked at it, I'm like, I can't argue with it. There's some little things I would change, but I can't argue with the fact that that really is me.
Yeah.
And that was what made that shift for me is like, oh, look, here's proof that it's not coming from some positive, uplifting person who wrote a book.
Yeah.
It's not me looking in the mirror trying to convince myself that I'm good and I have value. It's there and it like constantly reminds me.
Well,
It's what I would call truth.
I want to play with this a little bit if we're okay. If
Sure.
there's more to share, hang on to that thought. Okay, first. So anchor that in. I want to go into Einstein. He says that unless you can recognize your limitations and acknowledge them, you can't move beyond them.
Hmm.
And I think, as I took the Gallup test, I did that as well. And real quick, my strengths are learner, intellection, relator, input, and deliberative. Those are my top 5, right?
Nice.
So I love learning. I'm curious about the world.
Right.
But I could also hold that as a label of, oh, that's me. There's nothing I can do about it. Right. And
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, the intention here, when I took the test, I'm like, I'm going to answer this way. I'm going to answer that way. And then I got the results and I'm like, where'd you get that from? You didn't even ask about that. Right. And it's like, but then like you say, you read the results and you say to yourself, holy crap, I do that. Right.
Yeah.
And the do together isn't by accident there. I do that, is kind of do a little bit. It's like,
I love that.
holy crap. Right. And one of our mentors, Steve Hardesty, says, most of us are out there frosting dog shit. We're trying to make the bad stuff look good. And the truth is you really need to slow down with who are you being right now? And now how can you use that as a strength? What would you say to that?
Well, the way I'm going to get honest here. I'm going to be pretty vulnerable. I'm going to be real. The way I
Yeah.
look at strengths is this is what we were called to be.
Okay.
But the trick is that everything that these strengths are strengths, and they are valuable to anybody that we come in contact with. But the beauty of it is we actually want to be that.
Yeah.
We, like, for you want to be someone who studies and understands things deeply.
Yeah.
And if you have this desire and a joy when you do it, imagine if you could just simply apply it to make it valuable for everybody around you. Then everybody around you will say, don't ever stop being that.
Right.
So if you now have permission to just do the thing you love doing because it's valuable for other people, then you've tapped into what I call as joy and results. You get them both. Make money, build better relationships, improve your health, develop a stronger connection to God and a belief in yourself, and in a way that brings you joy. We don't have to like knuckle down and make these kind of faces and go to work, and then be happy. Who's going to be happy after all of this process? You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can do it. And that's what I love about strengths, is like saying, all right, this is a map. This is a roadmap for me to do things my way. And like for me, even, and to wrap up on this, the way I teach strengths is my way. I got the certification. I've coached thousands of people, but when I teach strengths, I do it my way. That's why I had to write a book. Because it's my way of doing things. Like, I want everybody else to do it.
That aligns because, okay. So the story of Einstein, right? Mm-hmm. Einstein was an insurance salesman in a previous life, and he was horrible at it. If he could have taken the Gallup's test, maybe he would have been a theorist, prior to that or sooner. Right. But he was an insurance salesman. He failed at it. Mm-hmm. But when he got into his element, where his strengths were, he was incredible. He changed our view of the universe, right? And how it works. But, and that's the value of knowing where you're operating from and where you truly align, because we go out and we put this mask on for the world of this is what they want. So when we do that external locus of identity and control, we're giving over to the world our strengths. We're saying, you tell me what my strengths are and I'll try and live into that. And we feel anxious every day of our life because we can never measure up to what we think they're thinking. Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're always wrong when we do that.
Oh, yeah. I felt that. So when I did the test, and then I didn't know anything about it. I saw the top 5 or whatever, and, read through it a little bit. I was like, I can, but I didn't dive into it. Then this week went into it, and it's my top 34, and even my 34 isn't a weakness, it's a strength.
It's a strength.
But inside of that, we were talking about, hey, look, thank goodness you don't have to be that. You get to be who you are here and express it with your number 1. And I was like, and it, like, all this, like, I just lit up like a Christmas tree. Like, there was this smile that you talk about, the tuning fork.
Yeah.
It was, I wish we would have caught it on video, because Tori was like, her face was like, oh my gosh, I wish we were recording this, because that right there, it was this relief, this sense of self, the judgments went away. It was like, hey, yeah, we can go play on the playground now. Like, like that, as a little kid, when you're like, can I go play, on this playground? Your mom's like, no. And then that letdown, like, oh, it looks so fun, it's over there. It was like all of a sudden mom or dad saying, yeah, go play on the playground. And that feeling,
you chased him away.
he's like, bye. But that feeling of, I don't have to be my number 34. It's there.
Right.
And I don't have to be Nick, or like really, because me and Nick are like opposites. If anybody didn't know that, in a lot of ways we're opposite.
Right.
I get to let Nick be Nick while being Ryan. My top 5 are positivity, empath, developer, includer, and woo, which means winning others over. And so I get to win others over by being Ryan, just Ryan doing Ryan things with my number 1, positivity.
Yeah.
And that feels so good.
I don't have to do that, which feels good. Right. I can relate, but I don't have to be out there like entertaining and doing all that stuff.
Yeah. So, lucky. What's
lucky, right?
Yeah. Eddie, you missed that part, but I just basically went to, I get to be my number
Oh,
5, which is woo. I get to win others over,
Yeah.
being Ryan, doing Ryan things with positivity. And then Nick's like, luckily I don't have to be that because we're the
Yeah.
exact opposites, right?
You probably have that really low
Yeah.
there, Nick.
Yeah. Nick, what's your top 5? What was that again?
it is learner, intellection, relator, input, and deliberative.
So
So you get to be a
he's got the thinking
deliberative
stuff.
learner.
Yeah, he's
Like,
got the thinking and the analyzing, and you got the feelings and the emotion. This is why you two partner so well together.
Yeah.
You cover
yeah.
both,
Yeah. Well, and it helps because those are areas that I really don't want to develop. There, I have no curiosity there, right?
Right.
I was
So
really surprised though, Eddie, that my number 5 wasn't snacking or anything to do with food. Because
yeah.
I most of the time I bring snacks to just about
Is
every Zoom meeting. It's like, okay, pack me a lunch. I'm going to a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
well, maybe that'll be 36 or
Yeah.
35 or something. Yeah.
You still get it. It's still there.
Well, so let's look at this because our goal in our first 6 journeys is to get somebody back to self-love, to self-empowerment, to internal locus of identity and control. When we do our first 6 journeys, it's all about that. And part of what I see in what you're doing is we're not walking against each other in what we're doing. We're walking alongside each other. You're doing it in your way. We're doing it in our way, but we're all going in that same direction. We're working to create a world of giants, so to speak, of people that are working within their strengths, so to speak, right? And we're moving into helping people untether from what's keeping them playing small. And maybe we're speaking different language, but we're not. We're speaking it in different dialects, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when I read your book, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is truth because it's universal. If it
Yeah.
connects with what I'm doing and what you're doing and what other people are doing, that's a universal truth, as I call it. So yeah.
Yeah. And being able to empower people when you can recognize, oh, they can be strengths and we could call them limitations. We might be operating in our lower tier and feeling like we're limited or we're broken. But it's just recognizing where you're operating from right now and what can you do to let go where it doesn't serve you and really step into what you have within you. An acorn doesn't have to go find itself to be an oak tree. It just has to start expressing and pull in what it needs to do that. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
unconditional love.
need,
Yes.
yeah,
yeah.
or when that need comes in, my number 34 is analytical. It's I mean, the people that are on here, most of them know me that they'll be like, yeah, that's not normally Ryan, but I can be. And when I really focus on something, I could bring it up and utilize it as a strength when I need it, but I don't have to keep it like in my front tool belt here. I can keep it in my backpack.
Yeah. And just to help you out there a little bit, analytical is a very non-emotional strength. There is nothing woo or positivity about analytical,
not so much.
Yeah. And so you could just say, I don't have to prove facts. I don't have to give you facts and figures and data to prove anything to you. I feel it.
Yeah.
Right. And that when you can say that, I don't have to give facts, figures, or data to prove anything. I feel it to be true.
Yeah.
That's all you would ever need. And the other people go, you know what? You're right. I don't need to see it. I see it. I feel it in your eyes. I feel it in your body. I feel it in your energy. And you woo, you win others over with that energy, not so much with the data and the facts and the analytical. That's your partner's job.
Yeah.
Right. He's the one that'll give you that stuff.
We call it Nick knowledge.
Nick knowledge. Eddie, what are your top 5, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, how about I give you my top 15 because I got to memorize.
Okay. Yeah.
I do this. I do this process called the Strengths DNA, where every single day I remind myself how I love to do everything and exactly how I do it is in step by step with each of my strengths.
Yeah.
So the simple terms of is I have 5 influencing strengths and 3 strategic thinking strengths in my top 10. Mm-hmm. So I've got a couple of the ones you have, which is I love to move people forward and think and create and learn. I love to move people from where they are to where they want to be and get them to think in alignment with their own unique process, right? And so how that details out is my top 15 strengths, which is strategic, activator, futuristic, woo, self-assurance, learner, communication, competition, focus, arranger, input, achiever, significance, positivity, and ideation.
Yeah.
These are like my own unique step by steps to move people forward, think, create, and learn. And through that process, I become
Yeah.
a better connector and a producer.
I like that.
Wow.
So we have a group that we associate with. They call themselves the Being Movement, mirrored after Steve Hardison. Similar idea. They make what is called a declaration statement, and each day they repeat that declaration statement. This is who I assert myself to be in this world. Right. Yours is a variation of that, where it's these are my strengths, my top 15 that get me to show up the way I can show up in the world.
Yeah, I call it a
And
proclamation.
yeah, there you go. See, so we have proclamations, declarations. We're gonna have to make something up here.
Yeah.
So, the beauty of it all is that when you recognize you, and you can really get in touch with that, it's not like you had to go out and make this up, right? This was already in there,
Yeah.
and it helps you to unbecome anything that's not that. So it's that untethering that you talk about, and the moment you step into that power, it's almost like a full presence. One of our attendees in one of our courses, she said when she met with me the first time, it was like she was at a -10. And then when she went through our program, she got to a 0. And then from 0, she took herself to a 10, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this does, is it allows people to move from that -10 to a 0. What you're doing helps people to align with whatever it is in them, their unique way of giving back to the world. Like Pablo Picasso says, your meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. Well, the meaning of life is to find your gift is what you're doing. You're helping people to find their gift, right?
Yes.
So that they can then step into their power, like the feeling of empowerment as you understand this. I mean, even just learning what you just taught me so far today, Eddie, it explodes my mind, where I don't have to be something else anymore, but I can do my analytical in my wooey type of way.
Yes, exactly.
Like, look at that! Like that's freaking rad.
Brilliant. Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
do
just come from
analytical
right here.
my way.
Yeah.
Well, you just
My 3/4
pointed,
is harmony.
yeah.
Gotta do
You
it
pointed
that.
to
I have to
yourself.
do that my way.
As he's talking, you're going, that I have that, and then you're like, you have that, and yes, more of that, right?
Yeah.
We tell on ourselves as much as we say we're not vulnerable. We are constantly broadcasting what's going on within us. And Eddie, when you align with this, your DNA, as you call it, everything expresses from that. Rich Litvin says that our vision isn't where we're going; it's where we're coming from. It's what's coming from us. And when you align with your DNA, just like the acorn, now that oak tree can express from the acorn, right? Your vision can express from you. It's there's no going anywhere. It's aligning in here so that you can create whatever comes from that, right?
Yeah.
And so when we look at, I want to go now into the growth journeys, because we're going to talk about uncertainty. A lot of people, we ask this question, who loves uncertainty? And most hands are like down. They're not even close to raising their hands.
Except for Laura Luntz.
Except for Laura Lunt. Yeah. Every time she's like, loves it.
Bring on the uncertainty.
But when we look at the unknown, Margaret Drabble says that when nothing is sure, everything is possible. But when you look at the unknown from your strengths, what does that do for somebody?
It gives them the proper lens. It gives you the right perspective. I'm going to ask you all something too. Do you feel like the number one step to helping somebody find their gifts is to help them first believe that they have them? And so when you look
You're
at
a giant already is what we
it's in there, and so if you're going to if you're going to view a path or a destination or a vision, to view it with the right lens. Because like for me, I watch people on stage, just like a lot of us. We watch people on stage, we follow people on Instagram or whatever, and we look at them and we go, wow, look what's possible. And then we immediately start thinking, I have to be that person.
Yes.
That's the incorrect lens to view your future. Right.
Well, that's what we've done is we've frosted. We talk about frosting dog poop. That's the frosting. You just keep layering that on, thinking that that's how I have to be. And you go to these rah-rah meetings and you watch the self-help and you do all the things, and that's good. but it's never getting back to the bottom of it, or wiping off the lens, or changing out the lens to really get
Yes,
to the truth.
exactly. That's why my trainings and my programs are not about let me tell you what to do.
Hmm.
It's more
Yes.
like shoot, you tell me who you are and how do you want to do things.
Yeah.
So when I'm on stage, I feel like I'm in the audience, and the audience is the stage for me,
Yeah.
and because I don't
Yeah.
want to tell them what to do anymore. I'm sick of that. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
I want to help them do what they already want to do, what they already know, and we unlock that uncertainty and we get clarity. Holy moly. Wow. What a life.
That's beautiful, because when you're coaching, when you're sitting with somebody, you don't have to come prepared.
Oh yeah. Right.
They bring everything you need right there. When they
They
come into the
got it.
room, everything I
Oh,
need is right there.
yes. It's awesome.
Yep.
They have it. And you get to be the front row of watching them discover it. And then, like you had said,
Yeah.
this is me. And you're just like, yes.
Yes.
That
Oh
moment
man.
for me makes everything, all the crap that you go through in life, like, go away. It's like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
I love that perspective of it's already in there.
Yeah.
We're just trying to unwind everything that keeps you from being that.
Yeah.
And Michael Singer's book just keeps coming to mind, the Untethered Soul, because he lives in that surrender. He lives in that expression of his inner world and just follows the flow. And it's so interesting, because here's a guy I've heard, let me say it this way: we're supposed to have goals, and they've got to be specific, measurable, attainable, blah, blah, blah. Right. Well,
Yeah.
for milestones, I can see that, but for visions, I can't, because
Yeah.
Steve Jobs comes in and he's like, you can't connect those dots looking forward. Right. Go ahead.
Right. No, I really struggle with the SMART goal
Yeah.
thing because
Yeah.
none of my goals are smart.
Yeah. Mine are crazy.
They're crazy. They're insane.
Yeah.
And for somebody, like, we were laughing and having a great time about this too. Somebody at home might be going, but how do I do, like, it seems so daunting still though. Like, yeah, like this little this comment by Alina, she said, like, we need to move in stages, little by little. We had a guest on the show that said, yard by yard it's hard, but inch by inch it's a cinch, because you
Yeah.
have an
Jeff
old way
Griffin.
of, yeah, and you have an old way of being. You've been a certain way for so long that automatically, instantaneously switching that off, it's not feasible. It can seem like, oh, but you guys can do that.
Hmm.
But that's true, because we've been working on it for a long time.
Inch by
There's
inch.
still yeah, there's still, I'm guarantee you, Eddie, is there still moments where you feel unworthy?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it's almost like I put myself in that position, not on purpose. Just, when you have a goal and a desire and a dream and you go to pursue it, you step into the unknown, which brings fear and doubt.
Yeah.
It's part of the game. We can't I think when people call themselves fearless, I really don't. I don't appreciate it because it's not true. I've
Yeah.
yet to meet a person that doesn't have fear. Like, I've done this strengths assessment with very powerful, very confident people, and the minute I start getting in their heads, the doubt and the fear and the feeling like they're lack in some way comes out so fast. And I've just kind of realized no one is fearless. There's just people who are skilled at moving forward despite the fear.
And
So they
quicker,
appear that way.
quicker and quicker. Is we talk about how, like, if you, like, in baseball, you start off with like a tee ball, and you put the ball on the tee. That's all you can do. Then you start taking some coach pitch, some little lobs, and then you start getting faster and faster and faster
Yeah.
when a 90-mile-an-hour fastball comes at you, you've taken enough swings and practice runs that the bat speed improves. Like, your eye for, is this a fastball, a curveball, a slider? You get better and better and better at pulling that out quicker. And there's going to be moments where hey, I didn't handle that so hot. I kind of, got in my head about that thing. Then
Yeah.
you can clean it up. It's not a shame thing anymore. That all goes away, and you can then come back into your strengths.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a quote. Yeah. First, share if there was something to share with that. And then I've got a quote that I think ties into all this.
Well, you had mentioned curiosity, and I feel like
Yep.
curiosity is a very powerful tool against fear. If you're afraid of something, but you are still curious about it and you still want to understand it,
Yeah.
it can help you take a few steps through that process and then eventually get good at it because you've done it so many times.
Yeah. There's a quote by mathematician Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and he says that we are the empirical decision makers who hold as our discipline to move forward with incomplete information. So we hold
Mm.
uncertainty as our discipline, right?
Yeah,
And we
I
say
love that.
often, our version of that inch by inch is a cinch is that giants still take small steps. They're just bigger, right? So
Yeah.
the idea here is that the uncertainty isn't something to be feared. It's full of possibility. It's where everything is.
Mhm.
Einstein talked about that. He said imagination is more important than knowledge. We already know what we know, but in the unknown is where we get to play. It's our playground, right? And
Yeah.
so making it our discipline to play in the playground sounds pretty fun to me, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, what does that bring up for you?
Nick
Well,
likes
just
to
like
play on the
any,
playground.
just like any playground, there's fun kids and there's bullies.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
in order to play in the playground, you got to embrace that they're both going to be there.
Yeah. Wow.
We really do. And
Yeah.
the way I teach people is like, if you're getting in a car and you're trying to get from one place to another, fear and doubt and anger and self-loathing and all those things gets to ride side saddle because it's not going to ride in the back. It's too powerful.
Right.
But it gets to ride in the side. You take it with you, and don't you ever give it the wheel. Like never. But it can ride with you. You can have a conversation with it, but you're still going to get to where you need to go. And so
Yeah.
when you come to play at the playground, be ready to face both. And I
Sounds familiar, Nick.
It does sound familiar.
Nick
But
talks about the bus. It's like
yeah.
it's a passenger on the bus.
it's a passenger.
If it
Yeah.
doesn't get to drive the bus, because if it does, then who's driving the bus?
Yeah, we've
That's
lost
that
it. Yeah.
thing, right? And then whoop.
Yeah. In internal family systems, if you ever read into that, they talk about that you'll have 10,000 drivers in one car. And in our bodies, a lot of times we have all these parts of us that want to drive the car. And it's like, no, dude, you're good to be here. I don't mind that you're here, but I'm the driver. I'd
Right.
never hand the wheel over to my 6-year-old. It's like, that's probably not going to go so well. Not because they couldn't do it, but because they haven't developed the skills necessary to handle that situation.
Right.
And that's what happens in us. We haven't developed certain parts of ourselves, and we call it the giant's journey. Is that small came to the land of the giants, climbed your shoulder and said, hey, I'm here. And if we say, I don't want you here, get out of my car, get off my shoulder, well, it will. And it will operate behind the scenes, and you'll think it's you, and it's a part of you, right?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, like we think we can lock the stuff away. And the analogy I once used was, if you're afraid of something, or if you're holding on to resentment about something, it doesn't go away. It goes into a closet and it's lifting weights.
Yes.
It's getting stronger and stronger, and to the point where you won't be able to control it. It now has control. It has the wheel, and you didn't know it.
Yes.
And that's the thing that, like, for me, that should scare the crap out of everybody. Like, like, who is at the wheel? And the only way to know is like how you feel, and are you bringing value to the people around you? If you're disconnected and you're, let's say, resenting people around you, then we know who has the wheel.
Right.
Like, that's it right there.
Right. Yeah. Follow the feelings backward, reverse engineer it. Right. If
Much
TEA
easier.
works in that direction, go backward, look at the actions, emotions, and thoughts. And then who's doing the thinking, because that'll tell you who's in the closet. Right.
Totally.
Who's at the wheel.
Nick talks about pruning a tree, and it's so much easier to prune a tree instead of pruning it by the thoughts, which are you have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So you're doing it leaf by leaf. You can go through and cut off the branches. It just makes all of that so much easier. For me, that resonates like a ton. When I feel those other emotions coming up and those things, I can reverse engineer it. So thank you so much for that. That feels good.
I want to tie into all of this. The next, in our growth journeys, we go into abundance, vision, surrender, and nurture, and we're going to pull all those together just for time's sake, right? And then we'll spend the last little bit here talking about your legacy. But when we talk about abundance, we speak it as though it's the law of thermodynamics, the first law that states that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only transformed. Well, abundance is the same. It's not created or destroyed. It's already here. It's up to us to transform it from what it is to what we have in mind. And that takes our vision. And that moves us into surrendering how that vision comes about. It also takes us nurturing ourselves so that we can grow into the person that can actually create that vision. So it's this double helix of creation, the DNA, as you call it, blends all of this together. That uncertainty makes everything possible. Abundance means everything you need is already there. Vision is what pulls it together. And surrender is like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it. Right? Can you speak to that?
I just want to speak to one thing, is the surrendering how. It is the number one thing people come to me or come to any trainer or coach or example. How do I do it?
Biggest
it's almost
question.
like they're looking for that step-by-step process that they will follow and feel safe.
That it's a question of fear, right? They're asking it because they're afraid.
Tell me how so that I will do it and not feel fear or feel like it might not work.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but it doesn't work that way. I remember I went to not Park City, Olympic Park in Utah.
Yeah.
And I went to this thing, and I'm terrified of heights. But I go to this thing where they strap you in and you have to jump off of a scaffolding, basically, like 30 or 40 feet in the air. You have to jump off. And I remember being harnessed to this thing, but there's a video of it and it's so awkward. I'm trying to lean down so that I can feel it holding me before I jump. I didn't even know I was doing it, but I'm like, it's too slacky. It's too loose because I don't want to jump not feeling I got something to hold on to me.
Wow.
So I was like, I'm 6'7", all right, y'all. This was so weird. I'm sure the people around me like, what is he doing? I'm trying to find where it tightens up, but I couldn't. And I just said, I guess I have to jump. And the second I jump, then I feel the tug. Right. And so what we have to teach people is that there is no path that I could ever teach you that will make you feel comfortable or safe. You have to take a chance.
Jump first.
Yeah. But immediately after you jump, you will then feel it.
That's interesting. It's the you have to feel the fear. You have to go through the fear to get to it. There is no other way. Like
this is not my rule.
Doing the doing.
This is not my rule. Thankfully, I'm not God. I'm not in charge of this. But if it were my rule, it wouldn't be that way. But that's the way it is. I hate it, but that's hey. And I have to do that. We still have to do that. You all have to do that.
Yeah.
You do that with this wake up, with the Giants TV.
We do.
You got to take these things. It's like, I don't know if this is going to work, but this is what I feel is the right thing to do. And so I just want everybody to know you don't ever escape that. You just get better at it.
So here's where I see people get hung up is they have their ideal, their vision, that this is how I think it should go. And then they jump and it doesn't go that way. So we call that a failure. It's a negative yield from your efforts.
Sure.
Right. And so it's a negative yield from the efforts. Didn't go the way you thought. That's all we're saying with that. When I use the word failure, that's all I mean is it didn't go the way you thought it would.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Yep. And so then you have an opportunity to really judge yourself really harshly over that. Or
say I am a failure. They take that on, right? Like that's them. It's not what
or
it is.
You can pick up the piece and learn from it, right, Ryan, and grow. Okay, that didn't work. Like Edison, let me find the other 10,000 ways that also don't work so that I can grow and find the one that does, right?
Yeah. The process is to let go of this need for me, it's like the failure is not the thing not going the way I wanted it to. That's not the failure. That maybe that's a miscalculation at best.
Yeah.
But it's not a failure. The failure is the quitting, is the telling the story and then never trying again. That's where the failure is. And it's what's amazing to me is we have 100% control over that.
Right.
We can try again. And the minute we try again, we are not failures at all.
Breaking news. We have 100% control.
Oh yeah. We have more control over
a lot of people are home like,
oh yeah, totally. Absolutely. So
why didn't they tell me this sooner?
Yeah. Failure, failure doesn't, call you, doesn't make you a failure. Like quitting does. That's what it is.
Well, I love the play on the word reaction and creation. They're the same letters, but they're arranged differently. Right. Mm-hmm. And if we're in 100% control of our lives, then our lens, like you talked about earlier, is going to affect how we see that, whether we're reacting to life or creating with life. Same letters, different arrangement, right? And the lens helps us to see that. But the only time you really fail is when you give up on it, you quit. And that can be really hard. People get into their emotions and they do quit. They think this isn't for me. I can't do this, and that becomes real. It becomes their story and their tether, and therefore it shows up in their world and gets confirmed. And we look for confirmation, not truth. When we're out there searching the internet, we're looking for something that confirms our truth, but we're not looking for the thing that truly is. We're looking for what we think it is, and then we look to support that. So if our lens of the world is I'm a failure, you will find evidence to support that you are a failure. I promise you.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So the opportunity that I hear in what you're offering here is that when they do this test, you're getting in touch with your core and you can align with that, and you can find evidence for that in your world. And that's where you can truly grow.
Evidence and the words, to be able, like if somebody came up to you and said, hey, what are you good at? It's hard. But when someone comes up and says, what are you not good at? It's, we have the words for that.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. But what strength does, it gives us the language.
34. That's just the scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Like magic dust, dude. Like, oh.
Yeah. So what it does is it kind of gives us a language to practice. So this little thing here right behind me, this is my DNA, like I just talked about. It's written out here. And if a person were to read that, they would know who I am. And so I can articulate who I am when someone says, who are you? I can say, and that's what strengths did for me, was it gave me that language, and all I want to do is teach other people to speak it, because when you speak it, then you tap into it, you tune into it, and you express it, right? And then it affects the world around you. It almost instantaneously.
Only always, though. It can't help but be any other way.
Yeah.
Sorry, only always.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at
there's the absolute again. but that one is true.
Yeah.
Only that's universal right there.
Yes, universal is always.
Yeah. But the beauty is that we all have it in us, and only all of us have it in us. And we have that ability to turn it around at any point. And it doesn't matter. I've had people go through our programs that are 75 years old that are waking up. Yeah. And they're like, man, I should know better by now. At 75, well, I'm 48, and I say that to myself. I've got another 30 years of saying that to myself. Oh, I should know better by now. So I might as well just drop that, because I shouldn't know better by now. I know now. That's what I have. I
shouldn't know better now because I don't.
Yeah.
That's it. Like we waste a lot of time saying we should or shouldn't, when the truth is that we could just love what is already.
Yeah.
There's a great book called Loving What Is, called by Byron Katie, that changed my life. And she taught me, man, if I could hug her one day, she taught me how to stop the,
I should be a cuddle puddle.
Oh yeah.
We love her too.
I should be here by now is a lie. It's an absolute lie. And we got to stop being liars, right? I should be here, but I'm here. The truth is I should be where I am, because that's where I am.
Yeah.
And the minute we say that, then we realize, okay, now I can build on that. Because you can't build on I should be here, or I should have more health. I should have more money. I should have more friends. I should have more influence. I should have a bigger house, whatever. You can't build on that fantasy that doesn't exist. We can only build on, well, this is how much money I make. This is how many friends I have. This is what my health is. This is the impact I currently make. And I can build on that, because that's true.
Yeah. It goes back to Einstein's quote: unless you know your limitations, you cannot move beyond them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it, right? This is where I am. And I say that to people. I am where I am. It is what it is. And people hear that and they think, oh, I hate that phrase. But if you could really use that phrase, right, it truly is what it is, no matter what you think about it. Yeah. Right? You are where you are.
Only if you want clarity. That's all. Only if you want clarity. If you don't want clarity, then this is not for you.
Yeah. What is your legacy? Why are you doing what you do? What is your gift?
So if I were to share the big dream is to have every single human being on this planet know who they are and be able to articulate it like expertly.
Yeah.
And really struggle at being able to talk about what they aren't good at. It's you know, I want to flip that script. I want it with every human being on the planet. So
Yeah.
to make this simple, I want to do this inch by inch because it's the only way I can. You know, so what do I do is I go, here, get your strengths assessment. Here's the book. Now start your journey.
Yeah.
You know, start your path. That's the legacy I want to. I want to teach my children how to do that. I want to teach everybody in the world how to just do that. Here, go get the strengths assessment, get the book, start your path. And I'm committed to this, even though I won't live long enough to see it in,
That.
you know, presently.
Yeah.
And I would, if I could wish one thing for everybody, is to have a dream so big that you're willing to do it, even though you know you're not going to be around long enough to see it come to fruition.
Huh.
Um, if I could express joy, that's definitely where it is for me.
Yeah.
Is that joy?
I relate to that. I connect with that. The idea of building something that'll be here when I'm gone. Right. And not waiting to do that until I'm gone. Steve Chandler says, leave a living legacy.
Oh yeah.
So do it while you're here, and then let it continue when you're not here. Because we will all not be here one day. And so what you're doing is an incredible work. Ryan, I'm sorry to break that to you here. Another breaking news. So when people go to your website, go ahead with your thought. And then when they go to your website,
2 seconds. I am comfortable with the fact that my last day on this existence, in this human being existence, before I move on to the next one, I will have many unfinished projects.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I'm surrendering to that. I'm okay with that. Now that's just like, okay, how do I leave roadmaps to help people finish those projects for me if that's their calling, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love
don't take all the Legos with you, dude. Like, save some pieces here.
That's good.
Cool. Ryan, what other thoughts do you have as we wrap up?
I don't know if Step Brothers is the best movie to go watch, but if you've never watched Step Brothers, and he says, "Did we just become best friends?" Yep. That's how I feel right now. Like, I feel like I'm best friends with Eddie. Like, everything that you've talked about, and actually, there's a lot that resonates with tons of different coaches, but so much just went bop, 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 and just like a Lego connects in the right spots. I mean, from Byron Katie to the surrendering and all of the stuff that we've talked about, that it was things that I was like, I did these little, you know, when the dog, like you're talking to a dog and it's like, you know, because it's like, you know, I did that quite a few times throughout this interview, because when something hits that we talk about, it's like, whoa, did they just say that?
Yeah.
Because it's the exact things that we teach and we talk about. And it was like every time we opened our mouth, it was like hearing it back, but in Eddie's way.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful. The one that resonated the most is your legacy. Because it's also our legacy. It's helping others see their giant potential. Actually look in the mirror and see themselves the way that we see them. That, because that, as soon as they can see themselves, they can change and they can grow and they can step into who they were really meant to be. That. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. That was awesome.
Yeah, Ryan, I know that'll impact some people that are watching today to open up to, you know, on both sides, whether you come to the Giants or Eddie or both, like do both. It's like, it's like self-development on steroids when you do both, right? Like mix it up.
Please do.
It's not harmful. Maybe the only problem is it's going to change your life. So
only always.
Eddie, do you have other thoughts you want to share before we wrap up? Was there anything that we missed?
You know what? I definitely feel like we have done a lot of good here today, and I don't want to mess that up. So I just want to say thank you. I want to express massive gratitude to you both for allowing me to be here to talk about these things that mean so much to me. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful that there are many of us out there, right? There are so many of us out there trying to free people. And then our goal is to unlock others,
That's it.
and have them join this fight.
Yeah.
If we can just go out there and unlock, and get people to join this battle, because the truth is that the darkness, the evil is mounting a war.
Yeah.
They are absolutely mounting a war, and this war has been going on for a very long time. And it's our job to accept the calling to be the warriors against that, the warriors for light. And we just need to make that decision to stop playing for that other side.
I've got to read something. A good friend of mine, Debbie Roth, messaged me this morning. She is one of the greatest healers on grief that I've ever met. Now that got me emotional. I sometimes call myself a bridge walker. I'm walking the bridge alongside you, not in front of you, not trying to pull you across the bridge, but walking right there with you. And you hit on the light, right? Debbie Roth said this. Let me see if I can pull it up here. My computer will cooperate. She said, let's see. She said, I'm here for you, and I'm also in full support of the work you're doing in the world with the Giant Journeys programs and coaching. It is a sacred, holy gift of grace that you offer. And remember that you have people on your light team, starting with me. And that light team, that's what landed with what you just shared there, is we have so many people like you, Eddie, that are on our light team, right? That we're walking right alongside you. We're not telling you we're better than you. We're just like you.
Yeah,
we're as messy as you are.
Yeah,
right.
Not as tall though.
Not as tall.
You don't look 6'7", but when I hug you, I might be like at your waist.
Right.
I get that
a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you shared today. For me, I'm just nerding out over here. I'm like, I love it. I love hearing about it. I love learning about it because I get to go share that. And for those that are watching, this is what we're all about. All of us. Eddie's about it. We're about it. We want you to reach your potential, your strengths, your giantness, your I amness that you have within you. And so go take his strengths test, see where you're at. You've got the link on the screen there. It doesn't cost you anything, right, Eddie? Or maybe it does.
There is a fee. Yes, there is a fee. So,
okay.
But unfortunately, I can't. If there was anything I could do to make it free, I would. But there is a fee. But when you go through getmystrengths.com, you get a bonus, which is me being there with you.
Beautiful.
You get a series of really short little videos, kind of walking you through every step. Because the one thing I learned about the strengths assessment is I didn't want people to just go to Gallup and take the assessment, although that's wonderful. That's great. But I wanted to be there with them. I wanted them to know, hey, it's going to be awesome. And we're going to do this together. And so when people go through getmystrengths.com, they basically ask me to go on that journey with them to show them, this is the manual for you. Now that I'm thinking about this, y'all, this is brilliant. But like for me, the way I look at my book and in your book, these are manuals to join the warriors of light. These are manuals. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to get there. And you're going to become part of the team almost instantaneously just by taking the steps. So that's what getmystrengths.com is to kind of be there with you. And then once you take the assessment, you start to get these little short trainings and videos to start walking it faster and easier and simpler.
To me, it's like walking into a dark room, you flip the light switch on and instantaneously you have the light. And then comes the part of paying the power bill. So you got to keep paying the power bill to keep the light on.
Keep that light going, right?
So keep doing that. I love it. For those that are watching, thank you so much for being a part of this. Your comments make this show what it is today. We appreciate you sharing this. I know you know somebody in your world right now that could use this video. Please share it with them. Find the link either on Facebook, on our page, or on YouTube. You won't be able to share from the Tribe of Giants. So if you're not a part of that community, go join that community. It's a global community of almost 4,200 members worldwide. And people like you, light workers, people that are trying to find the light and work towards their own version of that. And so go join us there and share this video with somebody you love. And we will be back next week with another incredible guest. And then the week after that, we're going to do a replay for the holiday. And we'll be back with more guests following that. Incredible guests, just like Eddie Villa. So make sure you go follow him, look into his work, get his books, getmystrengths.com is his website. We appreciate you. We hope for you fathers that you recognize your giantness as well and the inspiration that you are to your families. Go make it a giant day. We'll see you in the next video.
Love you too.